Welcome to Normalize You, your place to help us redefine normal. I'll be your host and your moderator, and I'll be here to help the world understand you and to help you understand the world. I just have two questions for you. What does the word normal mean to you? And so how's it going, everyone?
You
So,
doing good?
I know what you said. You're like a toddler at a desk.
Shut up.
where's your yogurt? That would make the scene better.
I was for last night, so I ain't picking nothing up.
That wasn't even a joke. That was legit. Like, all right.
Where's the yogurt?
Woo, just put a lunchbox in front of you. Somebody gonna send you back to school. All right. So today's topic is gonna talk about the truth. In the past topic we talked about normalizing the truth, but that was more so the truth within yourself. We're more so talking today about people not only accepting the truth, but people that are suffering from like secondhand embarrassment when it comes to telling the truth. And I'll break the ice with this one because I see that I mean I know what I'm talking about. Me personally, I can't consider somebody a friend if me and you were talking face to face for it doesn't matter how much time. You walk past me at work, you look at me in my face, we hang out, go out, and then 20 minutes later I go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and I got like a piece of lettuce stuck inside of my nose. So I got a giant, violator inside my nose and nobody said nothing to me. I'm like, you can't possibly be my friend if you just allowed me to walk around with this in my face without you letting me know. And that's why I say people suffer from secondhand embarrassment because I'm saying, like, why are you embarrassed by me having something on my face or anything like that when you should be telling me so that I don't be embarrassed later. That's just the level of trust I'm talking about. So it could be within that realm. It doesn't necessarily have to be about that particular example, but that's what we're talking about.
Okay. I want to say you can't really feel things for other people as far as piggybacking off of what you said, secondhand embarrassment. People often feel offended by something that happens to somebody else, and and the person that happened to aren't really offended. Like, I give an example. My favorite football team, the Washington Commanders. For a lot of times, I noticed whenever I was around anyone who was of Native American descent, a lot of times they didn't really feel too offended about the name Redskins. That was their truth. But you have other people who, because they felt like it was offensive, now all of a sudden the name is offensive. Even if it is offensive by nature, if it's offensive, let the person who's supposed to be offended by it tell you they're offended. Not, hey, that's offensive, I'm offended, but the person it was about doesn't even care. And I don't know. To me that's stupid. Like, you can't really feel things for other people.
I think some of it though is like going back to Jeff's example is like the whole concept of like don't shoot. We always say don't shoot the messenger because it's known that sometimes people will, and sometimes people don't accept the truth from other people well, regardless. So people choose just not to say nothing. So like in Jeff's example, somebody might react negatively to, or Jeff could have gotten an attitude by somebody telling him you got a giant booger in your nose or you got lettuce stuck in your teeth. Like some people don't like being called out. So it's like try to not say nothing just to not start anything. So I think that's sometimes where that secondhand embarrassment can come in. It's not so much secondhand embarrassment like I'm offended on your behalf, but I don't want to be embarrassed because I say it to you and now you're upset with me.
So I'm a little confused about the whole secondhand embarrassment thing. That's just that terminology is confusing to me. But I don't know. It's just confusing. I really don't have nothing for this one.
So secondhand, now that's perfectly fine. So secondhand embarrassment is like, I'm not saying that you gotta understand this is like we're not trying to normalize like, well, I guess we are. We're more so normalizing things that are like existing in life, like in people's personal experiences. Not if all conversations are going to be like based on society. It's going to be about like personal experiences or something that we've seen firsthand with someone else. But secondhand embarrassment is one of those things where it's like you ever seen like a movie and then somebody in the movie does something embarrassing, or you watch a video on your phone and someone in that video does something embarrassing, and then you find yourself not being able to like really finish the video because you're like, that's awkward. That's secondhand embarrassment. Whereas like everyone may not deal with it the same way, but we are aware of
Okay.
what secondhand embarrassment is. And going back to the shooting the messenger part, like I do 100% agree. There's no but when it comes to this conversation. I 100% agree that a lot of times it is a shoot the messenger type situation. At the same time, like I said, it could be 50-50, where it's like it could be 100% the shooting the messenger, and it could be 100% people just suffering from secondhand embarrassment, where it's like you'll see somebody where, and the reason why I say it's more of a, from my perspective, a secondhand embarrassment situation is because a lot of times when people talk to you and you have something on your face, they'll do their best to talk to you, but like do this. And then you go find out yourself. And then after you clear from yourself, the rest of the day they're talking to you like this. And I'm like, ew, why are you embarrassed for me? I'm the one that got something on my face. So that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, in
So,
a
oh, my bad.
situation like that, I'd say like, look, just be honest with me about the fact, like, hey, if I have something going on that I am visibly unaware of, tell me. Don't sit there and let me look like an idiot, and then I have to look at you, feel uncomfortable, and feel embarrassed for me. No, tell me so I can fix the situation. So now the one of us awkward.
I'm gonna let you go and comment, Mike, before I give a deeper example to the whole truth thing before I move on to that.
All right. Well, mine is another question. So like basically, so is the messenger basically a safe ground for somebody that knows a person is going to be embarrassed by the truth?
No, it's literally me talking to someone. I will be the messenger talking to you about something that is the person that's delivering the fact that you have something on your face. That's what I mean by it's literally the messenger and the receiver. It's not a metaphor for anything.
So it's no middleman, because the messenger is
No,
the
it's
middleman.
we're speaking in the literal. I will be delivering a message to you.
And I'm using it as when people say, because everybody knows the saying, don't shoot the messenger. So sometimes if you're the one that has to tell somebody they have something stuck in their face, you're more concerned about how you might suffer embarrassment if they react negatively to you giving them that message versus, you're just having your own embarrassment on their behalf.
You know, I can tell when you're confused because you make the same face. Richard probably makes that picture behind you. So moving on, moving on to the deeper messaging behind why I brought this up. It's not all about secondhand embarrassment. It's about like people telling the truth in general. I'm the kind of person that like the amount of times when I was younger that I was told, and this is about like older people, whether it be women, whether it be men, anybody, it was always, hey, you're never gonna have a happy relationship because of how truthful you are. Okay, what do you mean by that? It was like if a woman walks up to you right now and asks, are you fat? I mean, am I fat? Would you answer that question with the truth? Yes. Like, I don't see why I wouldn't. And 90% of the time, like we talked about yesterday, if a person asks you that particular question, it's a very great chance that you're in a relationship with that person already. So it kind of already negates the initial, you'll never get a, from the beginning. And then the thing about like, just, I don't know, overall, just telling the truth about something. Like I said, not only from the giving side, being able to accept the truth too. A lot of times people can't accept the truth. And I tell people all the time, it's like, it's hard to look in the mirror and argue with yourself. So you have to surround yourself with people that can tell you the truth. I don't care about my friends hurt my feelings because I then have had them be my friends for so long that it's like, I expect you to be the person to tell me the truth. We've been friends for 20+ years and you haven't told me the truth. I need to look at a new friend circle because that's wild. Your friends are here to help you. Your friends are here to make you laugh. Your friends are here to make you smile. But your friends should also be the ones that can make you cry. And I don't mean in the sense of trying to be negative and trying to be like hurtful, because there is a brutal honesty to a lot of things. But I feel like a lot of people spend more time on the brutality and don't spend more time on the honesty. Because if your friends say something truthful that you've been neglecting or you've been trying your best to like repress for your entire life, you've been trying your best to ignore, that could probably make you cry. But them being your friends, they should be able to say something to you to open your eyes. So you don't walk around the world thinking you smell good, but you smell like a porta potty, you know?
If you can't be honest with me and tell me the truth, that shows, especially if we're supposed to be close, that shows me that you lack a certain level of respect for me that should already be built in based on the bond we have. Like, times I get told that I have a mean way of talking to people. Now I've been told by numerous people that are actually like close to me, like family. But I'm not a mean person. My thing is I'm very honest, I'm very blunt, I'm very deliberate. And if I don't tell you the exact truth based on both facts and the words that express how I feel about it, I'm not really telling you the truth. I'm only giving you half the message. So I have to be honest with you. That's why I'm objective towards the truth. So there's going to be times where it's like, I do not care about your feelings. Like I acknowledge your feelings. Yes, I care about your feelings in their whole, but as far as in this moment, no, I don't care about your feelings as far as the truth is concerned, because you need to know this. Or it's a message that needs to be said.
Correct. Let me say this last thing before
I
I jump in, because I want to stop after I say this last thing, because I want y'all to have all the points that I'm trying to make before y'all just go ahead and talk. Um, Being able to accept the truth, and I don't necessarily mean the person that is trying to get you to understand something in a manner of like, hey, you have this or you have that. I'm talking about like if someone deals with the trauma and they tell you their trauma, don't go, oh, I wasn't there to see it, or I don't believe it's not. That's not your place to tell that person they lived that life or not. That person is speaking to you their truth. You have to listen to them. Like if someone's been holding a certain trauma or a certain thing in their mind for all these years and they finally open the door to you, don't give them reasons as to why their trauma doesn't exist. Like that's their truth. You can't take that from them. Just learn to listen and accept the truth that they're expressing to you. And on that note, I mute myself. So y'all go ahead and have at it.
the eyeball, I guess, in the group for a second. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Um, because there's a certain thing about telling people the truth, and Darian, you were talking about how like people have said you're delivering the truth in a mean way, and I think sometimes we have to recognize that the way you deliver the truth can also make somebody not hear it just based off of your delivery. And it's not necessarily about the fact that what you're saying is truthful. You could be saying the most gospel truth ever spoken, but if you're phrasing it in such a way that it's coming off negatively or it's coming off like you're downing somebody, now they no longer want to listen. So sometimes I think people get too aggressive in how they try to portray the truth, and not portray because the truth is the truth, but you get aggressive in how you tell somebody that truth, and you make it hard for anybody to hear you. Um, I mean, this has been told to me and my family when I've had conversations is like we've had to learn how to express the truth in a way that the other person can hear it. Because as much as you have to receive somebody's truth and just accept it for what it is, you also have to be able to give the truth in a way that that person can understand. Because we all process things differently. We all understand words differently. So sometimes you have to recognize that, oh, if I use this one word, they're not going to listen to anything else I have to say. But there's another word that means this exact same thing. And sometimes just working on how that's delivered can change everything.
I mean, yeah, that's why I said that like you gotta look at the words brutally and honest. Like a lot of people always say, oh, I'm brutally honest. And I tell them all the time, and it's like, Like me and Mike, we can talk. I can talk to Mike because he's here. I'm not saying nothing bad about him, so I can talk about it. I always say that when me and him grew up, everything that people didn't like about Mike in the sense of not understanding him, I was the exact same person. Like I have the same qualities that they didn't like in him and me. The difference is I spent more time with being honest than being brutal. I'm not saying that Mike couldn't do that. I'm not saying he didn't do that. I'm just saying a lot of times I told him, it's me talking to him when we were younger. Sometimes I told him, like, you spent a little bit more of your attribute points on the brutality of it. You didn't spend a lot of points in the honesty part. Like, granted, he was still being honest, but sometimes I told him, I used to tell him, I was like, sometimes it takes a little bit more of a sensitive mind to be able to get people to really understand you. Because, like you said, Taylor, some people don't grasp messages the right way, and it's like certain people. If you're so used to being with, like for me, it's like I'm so used to dealing with a certain level of friend. Like I'm so used to people that can deal with brutal honesty that I could make the mistake and slip up and talk to a sensitive person and be brutal on them. But it's like being able to like disassociate your friend group with the fact that everyone isn't the same person. It'll be easier for you to be like, hey, let me explain to you this in a neutral manner. And then if you're not getting it, then I could turn up the intensity a little bit. But a lot of people lack that quality.
Yeah, because there's some friends you can kind of, or anybody in your life that you can kind of just go aggressively at from the jump. Like, bro, you got to do better, get it together. Like, you can go that hard at somebody, but there's other people in your life, regardless of what that may be, that you got to be like, okay, wait, let's sit down. Let's, hey, think about what you're doing. This is the potential consequence. Like, you just have to change the way you talk. And I know some people are going to think that I'm saying you got to code switch. And it's not necessarily code switching, but it's like understanding how somebody can read a message. And that's both understanding who you're talking to and the truth you're trying to get them to understand. Because not everybody's going to take it the same way. You could tell 5 people the exact same truth, and they're all going to take it differently. We found that out when we used to play telephone as a kid. You say the exact same message from one person, and by the time it gets to the person it's supposed to go to, it's completely different. And that's based off of how we interpret and how our own brains manage what's being processed and said to us. So I think you got to know your people and know how to present the truth in a way that that person can actually understand it. And part of that is knowing the truth well enough yourself that you can explain it.
And to I guess to further explain what Jeff was talking about, where he's told me so many times about how I've displayed the brutal side of my honesty. I had to learn to empathize, like for the way other people took the truth, because I already knew I was speaking the truth. I already knew that Jeff accepted the truth, because not just because of the honesty. It's just the fact that I got you. It's just the fact that I had to learn based off of how people.
Okay.
Oh, but what I was saying was, is like, once I learned to empathize to someone's way of how they accepted my last truth, I had to go off of that for the next time I spoke the same way I was going to tell the truth. Like, I'm not about to change the way I tell the truth. Agreeing with what y'all said, I will have to change a word for them to comprehend it more.
Okay.
Oh, that was it.
I mean, I swear people, I get hearing all kinds of noises. Yeah, I believe that it's like, but with the whole truth thing, we also have to sometimes it's more than just being able to just tell someone the truth, because you're not going to just walk up to somebody and expect to be friends with them for a decade, and the first word you say out your mouth is, "You ugly." Like, no, like, and uh, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Ugly is how you act, not how you look. That's number one. But with that whole statement of saying somebody's ugly, your definition of ugly could be, hey, that person doesn't know how to dress well, that person's hair is all kind of messed up. And all that still goes back to the whole thing I said a few episodes ago where I was saying telling someone something that is changeable about themselves or their behavior without offering them a new way or a new behavior or new anything, any advice is just as bad as what you're accusing that person of. So if I tell somebody, hey, like my first word is, hey, you're ugly, and it could be your clothing, it could be your hair. I'm not going to just say that. I'm gonna try to maintain a friendship with you first. Then I may say stuff like I'll start suggesting clothes. I'm not gonna say, hey, you should wear this. I'm gonna just go to the store and be like, oh, this might look nice on you, or blah 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 blah. Or if you see me get a haircut every day, you see me get my hair done every day, I would invite you to the salon I go to or the barber shop I go to. It's like there are small ways you can persuade someone towards your truth if it's something about them that actually needs to change. But you can't just meet someone and the first thing you do is just be like, this, that, and the other. You gotta ease into it. You gotta you gotta make it so that the person's comfortable. One thing about the truth that a lot of people mess up on is expecting everyone to accept it the same way you accept it. That's not true. I gotta be able to like ease you into it to make it make sense to you. Because if it doesn't make sense to you, then you'll never hear what I'm saying. And vice versa to the person that's saying it to me.
Yeah, I give an example. And there's been numerous times, and both Mike and Jeff know this.
Yes.
We go to the mall or something, and they say, "Hey, this might look good on you. You ever tried this?" I know I tend to have my own distinguished style of when I dress. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not. I'm aware of that. And there's times where it's like, okay, I feel you on that one, and this times it's like, nah, I'm not really feeling that. And sometimes I get a response as well. Sometimes it's about how you feel about it. Sometimes it's about how it really looks on you. And I've been objective, I'd say at a minimum half the time. Sometimes just I really just don't like that style of clothing or whatever that they're pointing out. And there's times where it's like, okay, you might have a point about that. They know whether I'm going to accept it or not. They're still being honest about the fact that, hey, we understand that you have your own style. We think this would look good on you, or maybe it won't. Because sometimes I'll pick out something that they may not necessarily agree with. And they know that at the end of the day, I'm not going to care whether they agree or not. But at the same time, the fact that we've been friends for over 20 plus years, I know y'all not going to tell me something that's stupid, or even if I don't agree with it, y'all not going to tell me something that's just going to have me out there looking stupid or proposing secondhand embarrassment. So I do tend to listen sometimes, and there's times where I don't.
I think along that same, and kind of to Jeff's point a little bit, is like people have to realize the truth is not to make everybody comfortable. So if you don't already have like a decent foundation with somebody, the fact that you're making them uncomfortable is gonna make it even harder for them to hear it. And that kind of goes to Jeff's point about like you have to ease somebody into it, because the truth is not going to make people comfortable 9 times out of 10. And then on top of that, just because it's true doesn't mean the person's gonna like it. Like I tell people in my family all the time, like I love you, but I don't always have to like you. There's a difference. And so there's a big difference in between, like when it comes to the truth. Like even though you recognize it may actually be the truth, that doesn't mean you have to like that it's the truth. And so knowing all those things, like that's why having some type of foundation is better, because that helps you better to navigate those waters, and people know you're not just coming from a negative place and you're not just trying to put them down, you're just sharing truth.
That makes sense to me. I guess with both of y'all, Darion and Taylor, y'all points with same as me. Jeff has told me, "Hey, bro, you wear a lot of black. Like, 'cause you couldn't stop me from wearing the color black. That was just who I am, right?" And then one day I was like, "Man, you know what? He right." And then I would start to like just throw out the color green here and there, because like black is one of my favorite colors, but green was my first favorite color. It's just I didn't have anything green. So you wouldn't see green unless you would suggest to be like, hey, you would like this. And that's what Jeff would do if we would go to the mall, where it came from me wearing green to I started wearing like black and purple. I would never stop wearing black though. It's like I would just add on to whatever I would already have, because I was like, you know what? I can accept the fact that, you know, he acknowledged this one little thing that I purposely do. Like I'm blatantly putting on black. I'm choosing to do this. And then he goes, hey, bro, you always wear black. And it don't matter what it is, from your shoe, your pants, your shirt, your hat. It's going to be black. It's going to have a little bit of white, a little bit of gray, but those are void colors. So I would throw in green to be like, all right, cool, that's different.
So going
Funny
back
enough, I think
to,
everybody on the camera wearing black.
oh yeah, it's like I got a little blue to it. But going back to we talked about in the episode of advice, where it's saying everybody's good advice isn't advice for you. Now we're on the opposite end of it, as you can see with the truth thing. It's like, and that goes into that well because a lot of times people ask for advice. Like you'd ask for, you go in the store and be like, hey, do these look nice? Hey, should I do this? Or should I file my taxes with this person? Should I go to this establishment? Should I go to this school? Should I do this? And then at that point, I'm not saying you have to, because then it still can be bad advice. But if you ask someone for that advice, you then have to accept that truth. I'm not saying you have to abide by that truth. You don't have to like do exactly what that person is saying, but you at that point have to hear it, because that person's telling you the truth about how they feel about the matter. And even on the receiving end, if somebody comes to you and asks you for advice on these particular things, it's your job to tell them the truth. Stop sparing people's feelings. Only time you should give consideration to people's feelings is how you're initially going to answer that question and the balance of your relationship status with that person. But don't hinder the truth because you want to consider someone's feelings, because a lot of times a lot of messages get lost in translation. Like you have to just accept people's truth. And like I said, you tend to leave a lot of stuff out, or you put a lot of stuff in because you're trying to be uh responsible for the person's emotions that's in front of you. And like I say, as long as you're not being brutally honest to the point where you're like focusing on the brutality of it, you should have no problem telling someone the truth about whatever it is they ask you for advice on.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate again. Sometimes you have to recognize that people aren't ready to hear the truth. Like if you know somebody, you know that there is a thing going on, and you know that even if you tell it to them right now, they can't hear it. You can just say, "Hey, I can answer this, but I don't really think you're ready to hear me." The person might argue with you or whatever, or dispute that concept, but sometimes you have to recognize it. And I say that because sometimes I think people who tell the truth get upset that somebody didn't hear them in that moment. But if that person isn't ready to receive it, it doesn't matter that you said it. They have to be open to take that information in. So like on the side of giving the truth to somebody, if when you have to recognize that maybe the other side's not always ready to hear it, and don't take it to heart or get upset because they didn't hear it in that moment. You said it or you didn't, but they'll get it eventually.
So what I was saying,
Your faces though, Mike, right now are killing me.
hold on. That's why I was going like this, because I wanted to say something.
Right.
I don't necessarily, and I'm being 100% honest with you. I don't think you can play devil's advocate to what I just said, because I literally said that it's somebody's asking you for advice. Like if someone walks up to me and asks me, be like, "Hey, X, Y, and Z," it's like, that's where I'm saying you have to be able to accept the truth, and you got to be able to say the truth without hurting somebody's feelings. If someone asks me for advice, yeah, 100%, it's no longer my responsibility to you to know if you're ready to hear it, because you asked me. And if you're going to ask me, you have to accept my answer. Whether you want to hear the answer or not, now it's up to me to give you the answer in a way where you can digest it safely. But once you ask me for my advice, it's up to me whether I tell you or not. And if I tell you, you got to accept it. Whether you're going to abide by it or not, you have to accept it because you asked.
Yeah, you kind of
Right.
get.
And oh, my bad. Go ahead, Darian.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, as a person who's worked on, well, who's mastered honesty and worked on simmering down that brutal truth, it's like you won't know a person's ready unless they either ask for advice, that's them letting you know, hey, I'm ready for the truth, or how they respond when you say you not ready for the truth. If they argue with you after you say you're not ready for the truth, oh yeah, they're not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, being ready for the truth, anybody can ever truly be ready for truth. It's all up to what the point of whether you're willing to accept it or not. Like Jeff was saying, like, I'll be honest with you, a lot of times completely honest with, and if you're ready for it or not, I'm going to say it. Now, I'll leave it up to you whether or not you're ready to accept it, but the truth is going to come out when the truth is ready to come out, regardless of whether you're choosing to say it, regardless of whether life is giving you the truth itself. The truth is going to come out when it's ready. What needs to be ready is your willingness to accept it.
Like the
And
truth right
now,
now is you like a Game Boy Advance character. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk, Mike. Go ahead.
serious moment, serious moment. Like very serious moment. So it's like, and this is more personal. When I was 11, right, I asked my father what death was, right? The explanation is very vague, but I remember the last thing he said. He was like, you know what? Because he saw that I could comprehend him, but he goes, I could die tomorrow, right? So from 11 to age 15, and goes to what Darion said, is like, it's being ready for the truth. Where my father taught me about death, he explained it the best way he can for me to comprehend it. But I didn't know that I was ready for it until 4 years after that. And then so when I got the news that, oh, he passed, I drew a blank, so I didn't react to it because I remembered him saying I could die tomorrow, right? And so it didn't hit me until I had to leave the state to go finish off, the rest of what life was for him. And that was like, you know what? Death is probably the truest things to life, but you're not about to know until something's either at the beginning of it or the end of it.
Some of what I was saying though too, because like people sometimes won't even say they want advice. They'll just tell you a whole story, and at the end of it, sometimes even with my own friends, I'd be like, okay, do you want advice right now, or did you just need to vent? So the reason I'm saying all these things is because like in my own friendships and in my own growth, like, you realize that sometimes people aren't really asking for the truth. Even if they say they want advice, they just want to hear somebody say that they're not crazy or their feelings are valid in that moment, even if everything else is wrong or whatever. They're just trying to get it out. We are social creatures at the end of the day. Well, maybe not all of us, but most of us are social creatures and enjoy having conversations with people, and like, even just for a moment, somebody's heard us. A lot of people just want to be heard, even if they're not really trying to get a truth out. They just want to feel like they want their truth, I guess, in that moment.
I mean, that kind of goes into, you have to be honest about what you're actually looking for too. If you want advice, you want the truth, or you just want to vent, the answer you're looking for, if you're looking for that specific answer, you have to be honest about, hey, I just want to talk, or hey, I need some advice. Hey, I need you to tell the truth. If you say, hey, I just want advice, but you really want to know what they really think, no, my bad. If you say, hey, I'm just trying to vent right now, but I do need a response, but you really just want the truth from them, you have to be honest about the fact that, hey, I want the truth. Or if you say, hey, I want the truth, but you're really only looking for advice, you want them to validate what you're saying, what you're feeling, it doesn't really go too far. So in order to get the truth that you're hoping to get, you have to be honest about the truth that you're looking for. Because if you're not, you're going to get something that you're not going to agree to anyway, regardless how it's presented to.
And I could agree with that last part, Darion, because I purposely asked the question knowing that a person can't escape the truth of it. Because they'll see it in their brain that, oh, you know what? I can't lie about this one. I can't lie about this. I can't segue. I can't sugarcoat it. So you just got to rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah. So overall, just I feel like if does anyone else have anything to say, real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are multiple options to how this truth thing works. It's either surround yourself with more truthful people, be more truthful yourself, be willing to accept the truth, and be willing to have people know your truth, because you can't expect people to adjust to your lifestyle if they know nothing about you. And with respects to Mike's hat, It's been another episode of Normalize You, and we'll catch y'all next episode.
Thanks for watching Normalize You. And don't forget to catch me every other Friday with your question of the week. And you can send in questions as well. Please reach out on our social media or our email and send us your questions, your topics, your responses. We actually do read them. Hope to see you there.